life-changing day with Judge Judy.
I'm not saying there's anything wrong. The question is it his dog?
No.
Well, you say no. That's why you're here.
Someone.
Judge Judy is a courtroom TV show wherein Judge Judy, who is a lawyer of 38 years, examines evidence from the plaintiff, who is the one suing, and the defendant, who is the one being sued, and decides who to rule in favor of. She's well known as someone who doesn't mess around, and there's been no shortage of disrespectful people on the show. With both those things in mind, there are many times that Judge Judy has gone off on people. Welcome to Film Focus, and in this video, we're going over 10 times Judge Judy obliterated guests. Before we begin, remember to drop a like, hit that subscribe button, and wait to find out what made it to number 1. Number 10. Waddell is an idiot. Before this trial even began, Judge Judy had a bit of a coughing fit, so she went to her chambers to go get something to help. While she was gone, the plaintiff, who is named Waddell, talked about how he's going to end up getting $4,200 for his 2000 Mercury Cougar. He says that he should have gotten drunk before he even showed up. He was also talking to the defendant about how he had done his research on the show. However, when Judge Judy got back, she was very quick to say how Waddell is a complete idiot. As unbeknownst to him, there was a monitor in Judge Judy's chambers, and she heard everything he said. She also talks about how he's a wise guy for thinking that researching the show would have ever made her more likely to rule in his favor. Later in the case, her suspicion was confirmed, and Waddell completely overpaid for the car, as it was only worth $1,450. Therefore, suing for $4 grand is insane, and he ended up only getting that $1,450.
No, you never watched it before? Oh my God. Gotta do your research, baby.
I'm going to explain why you're an idiot so that your family will know you're an idiot, your friends will know you're an idiot, everybody here will know you're an idiot.
Number 9. Beer equals fun t-shirt. In this clip, the defendant's husband showed up to the courtroom in a shirt that said beer equals fun. Judge Judy pointed out that that's not really an appropriate thing to wear to court. However, the defendant said that they're just being themselves and that they're not being fake. But Judge Judy was quick to point out that, yes, you should be fake in a courtroom. She then asks her how her and her husband dressed for her mother's funeral, to which the defendant replied that her husband didn't wear a shirt like that. So Judge Judy then explains that that's her exact point, and that you need to know when to dress for the occasion. She also talked about how they're both smart enough to know right from wrong, and calls her husband an idiot. She then concludes by yelling that it's not a two-way street, meaning that she shouldn't try to reply, and that she needs to stop tapping on her desk.
It's a ridiculous shirt that you chose to wear to court today. I'm just letting you know that. Do you
Thanks.
understand?
Yes.
I mean, I don't know what kind of statement you thought you were making, but if that shirt that you're wearing belies that fact.
Thanks. My suit's at the
I
cleaners.
didn't ask. That doesn't require an answer, sir. It's a statement. It's a statement of fact. Most people.
Number 8. Plaintiff tries to sue the defendant for using the toilet. While the plaintiff was having a get-together with some friends, the defendant went to use the bathroom, and while going to the bathroom, she said that she heard a sound and discovered that the toilet had cracked. The plaintiff wanted the defendant to pay for repairs, but since there was the possibility that the toilet had maybe just worn out, mixed with the fact that it was unintentional, there was really no reason to rule in the plaintiff's favor. However, the plaintiff simply wasn't getting the message, and this led to Judge Judy yelling at her, trying to explain that the defendant can't be held responsible for what happened. She finished by telling the plaintiff to grow up as she started to walk away.
And she broke your toilet. She cracked it. You
Yes.
want her to pay for it.
Yes, that's correct, Your Honor.
How many times had she been to your house before?
A whole bunch of times, like 7 or 8.
Assuming that you are correct, that the toilet broke when she was using it,
Right.
why would you think she's responsible?
Because she's responsible. You break something, you pay for it.
Number 7. A group of kids destroys property and decides to post about it. A group of kids saw a Confederate flag on a random truck and decided to do something about it. They took the flag off of the truck and peed on it. After, they decided to throw the flag back on the truck, and somewhere in the process, the truck ended up getting scratched. They then made the genius decision to post about it on social media, which made it very, very easy for the truck's owner to find out who had done it. So the truck's owner took them to court and sued them for damages. There was barely even a case, as it was obvious that they had done it. Despite this, they were still constantly smirking and chuckling at what was happening, and Judge Judy definitely didn't hold back on expressing how dumb they were for this whole situation.
Says Christopher Easley, Bailey Forston, and Nicholas Nolan.
vandalized his truck by scratching it and removing his flag.
But I knew I was going to get a name from you, and irrelevant wasn't the name. Now do we understand each other better?
Yes, Your Honor.
Because you didn't like the idea.
Number 6. Judge Judy tells a man the law doesn't give a rat's ass. In this case, the defendant had filed an emergency protective order for himself against the plaintiff. The order made it so that the plaintiff couldn't go to work anymore since they worked together. Judge Judy then asked him what concrete or physical reason he had to file that order, and he kept explaining that he felt threatened or felt a certain way, but no actual instances where it was clear that he needed an emergency protective order. With that, Judge Judy gets angry and explains to him that the law, quote-unquote, doesn't give a rat's ass about how he feels and that he abused the system. She explains that you can't just go around filing restraining orders based off of emotions, especially when it puts a person out of a job. You need a concrete physical reason. You really don't want to get on her bad side. She's not afraid to tell you what's what.
What you believe, maybe your mother cares how you feel, maybe your sister cares how you feel. The law doesn't give a rat's ass how you feel. Because you were not granted a final order of protection, right?
No, but I disclosed his working location when the judge asked where the perfect place for service would be.
Number 5. Woman borrows money but has no intention of paying it back. In this case, the plaintiff, who is named Lee, loaned the defendant, who is named Erica, $2,000 because she was going through a rough time and a move. Lee made it clear that it was a loan, meaning Erica had to pay it back in the future. Erica agreed and took the $2,000. However, when Lee asked for the return, Erica refused and Lee took it to court. While on Judge Judy, Erica claimed that it wasn't a loan at all and that Lee said that she would never have to repay it. However, Erica then went on a little rant about how Lee worked, only had 2 kids, her and her husband drove a BMW, and how they had house cleaners every week. This made it crystal clear that it was indeed a loan and Erica just never intended to pay it back because she believed Lee was rich and she was somehow entitled to some of her money. Judge Judy was quick to rule in Lee's favor and seemed very happy to do it.
Her house needed some work on it before they'd be able to rent it out. So she came over to my house. This was the...
Were you neighbors?
Well, no, we lived about half an hour away from each other.
She only has 2 children. She has as many children as she can afford to take care of.
I also have a dog.
Well, that's your problem. You know, you can have as many children as you like as long as you're able to take...
Number 4. A man threatens Judge Judy but then can't figure out how to open a push door. In this clip, 4 men and Judge Judy were arguing over what requirements you should meet to own a gun. One of the men were arguing too much, so she decided to make him pay a chunk of what they were being sued for and kick him out. As he's getting kicked out, Judge Judy makes a remark about how he's an aggressive and nasty person. While she's talking, another one of the men quietly says, "You better watch him, you never know what people will do these days." And while Judge Judy seems to overall disregard it, in the context of talking about guns, it seemed like a really bad comment to make. And not long after, he also got kicked out for talking too much and arguing. On his way out, Judge Judy comments about how there needs to be more tests in order to own a gun. The man fires back with, "There should be a test to be a judge," and proceeds to pull on a push door. He then takes a few seconds to realize that it's a push door, and as he's walking out, he restates that there should be a test to be a judge. I mean, first of all, has this guy never heard of the bar exam? But also, it seems like Judge Judy definitely got the last word on this one.
To take a training test, they should have to have all kinds of tests before 4 idiots are given.
Excuse me.
A weapon.
These are not
A
idiots.
weapon.
These are not
Well, I have to tell you something. You push out.
Number 3. A man seems proud of speeding. In this clip, a man is talking about the amount of times that he had been caught speeding. He almost proudly claims that he had been caught speeding 11 times, and he reacts with absolutely no empathy or regret for what he had done. So Judge Judy goes off and talks about how dangerous that type of behavior is. She explains how one day he's going to end up killing someone. She concludes by saying that once he inevitably does hurt or kill someone, she wants this exact tape to be shown so that everyone can see how carefree he was about the topic. If he doesn't end up learning from his mistakes, it's definitely only fair that this episode does come back to bite him, and I think it was a good point for Judge Judy to make.
Oh, that was for the first ticket?
I've got like 11 tickets for speeding.
Oh, well, I thought you only had 2.
2 times my license was suspended.
He doesn't respect your law, and he one day is going to cause some damage to somebody who's just an innocent person. And when he does,
And when he comes before a judge...
Number 2. Judge Judy gives a dog back to his rightful owner. In this trial, a woman had found a lost dog and decided to just keep him. When the original owners had tried to contact the woman and get the dog back, the woman refused and claimed that it wasn't the right dog. It was a pretty generic looking dog, so it could have been a little difficult to determine if it really was the right dog. However, the dog was brought to the courtroom, and when the dog was brought out, he was always staring at the original owners. Judge Judy tells them to put the dog down, but the woman who found him continually says, "No, don't put him down," as her daughter is actually the one who is holding the dog. However, of course, the daughter has to eventually put him down, and the second she does, the dog charges right into the arms of the original owners. That was enough for Judge Judy to rule in the original owners to get their dog back, almost instantaneously, and she made it very clear that that was, no doubt, the original owner's dog.
You want to show me something?
Yes.
What?
I have document from my vet, and they're saying the dog's a mixed breed and he's 5 years old.
Everybody.
Your Honor.
Hey, boy. Hey there. That's baby boy.
Pick him up.
That's baby boy. Come on, Mark. Come here. That's baby boy.
Number 1. Judge Judy kicks out 3 witnesses. During the questioning process of the plaintiff and the defendant, witnesses from both sides speak up multiple times. Sometimes they end up completely interrupting somebody's sentence. After a few instances where they speak over her, insert their opinion without being asked, or even try to raise their hand to interject, she kicks them out one by one. The last one even had to get kicked out by an officer. I mean, come on, have they never watched Judge Judy? How did none of them realize that they would never get away with interjecting whenever they wanted to? Judge Judy is way too strict to let anyone talk whenever. And it's definitely safe to say that Judge Judy walked away with the last word on this one.
I didn't ask you a question.
Just drive it back to the apartment and park it until he got his license.
Your Honor, that's not true.
Did you hear me?
I'm going out, but it's all
Good,
wrong.
he's going out. Nobody hears you except yourself.
She knew he was going to drive.
Do you understand, sir?
Yes, I do.
Perfect.
Step up.
That was our list of 10 times Judge Judy obliterated guests. What did you think of the list? Which did you think was the craziest? Let us know in the comments. And as always, thank you for watching Film Focus.